Oh, those poor, non-existent, made-up children. Since Multiverse of Madness was released, I've heard way too many arguments like this regarding the psychopath that is Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. So I felt compelled to return to the topic of the selfish, narcissistic moron that is Wanda. A character bereft of any rationality or morality but sold to us as some sort of tragic anti-hero. A character who's written as a stand-in for people experiencing loss and grief, a subject used to hand-wave for lack of any moral compass, logic, or consistency of personality. The morality that the MCU is trying to push with this character is honestly disgusting. Many of these points will be objective, so if we disagree, it'll be because we disagree on what we consider rational and immoral behavior. Wanda Maximoff jumped the shark starting with the WandaVision Disney Plus show, where she took an entire town of people hostage and controlled their minds and every action, because she was grieving over her fallen lover, Vision. She knowingly tortured these people to hang on to her make-believe children, husband, and brother. And yeah, that's an objective fact. That's what she did. And someone's grief is not a qualifier for doing this. There is no amount of grief that justifies doing something like that.
Don't you know how grief-stricken she is? Sir, have you considered her pain?
There is no argument someone can make to justify this. You can't argue that she didn't know what she was doing. She did.
This will be your only warning. Stay out of my home.
You can't use the Bucky Barnes argument either, where it's hard to hold Bucky accountable for his actions as the Winter Soldier because he was being controlled by someone else. Wanda is entirely culpable for her behavior. She's fully aware of what she's doing. It's hard not to go off on a tangent of how disgustingly bad the writing is, but I'll try and stay on track and talk about what we have and not what could have been. What we have is Wanda keeping an entire town under her control and her hex threatening the entire world because she has the SAD. The fact that Marvel tries to spin this to get sympathy from us is gross. Even when Vision realizes what's happening and confronts her about it, she gets angry at him. Despite the fact that she was confronted with the obviousness of her immoral behavior by Vision, Sword, and Monica throughout the show, it required this.
If you won't let us go, just let us die.
For her to finally let people go, and she doesn't even do it right away.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair.
This is a great line delivered by a great actress, but when I first heard it in the trailers, it came off extremely forced considering what she did in WandaVision. This was before we knew she'd be the villain of the movie, and after seeing how it unfolded, the line comes off even worse now. It's supposed to expose hypocrisy, but it's really just idiotic bullshit some writer made to make himself feel clever.
Yeah, I thought it, then I said it, I'm awesome!
At one point, she even tells Strange that her trying to kill an innocent child in order to satisfy her own personal desires is equivalent to Strange giving Thanos the Mind Stone. So, you know, he's a hypocrite. What the fuck? How is Strange giving up the stone as the only means of defeating Thanos equivalent to you wanting to kill a kid to go be with your made-up kids? Strange fucking sacrificed his life and was gone for 5 years in order to save the world. Doesn't strike me as the same thing, but what do I know? No MCU hero's choices are comparable to Wanda's. When the heroes in this universe have messed up, it's happened out of their selfless intent, out of their desire to help others. Strange and Spider-Man used the spell to try and make people forget that Spidey was Peter Parker, and that was morally wrong. But Spider-Man only came to Strange once he realized that his identity being exposed was hurting his friend, girlfriend, and family. He did it for them, not himself. And Strange cast the spell because he felt bad for Peter and reluctantly decided to help. Meanwhile, Wanda's mess up is torturing an entire town of people and eventually murdering people across the multiverse for her own benefit. Yeah, very similar. Even Iron Man and Bruce creating Ultron was out of hope that it would protect the world from outside threats. And let's not forget, Stark only did that after Wanda messed with his mind and manipulated him into doing it. Funny how things come full circle. After realizing this, the "doesn't seem fair" line sounds like the equivalent of punching a stranger on the street and calling the police because they beat your ass. Strange even tells her that she was justifiably right for what she did in Westview, and he didn't need to show up because she set things right. This is Marvel once again trying to push some warped sense of morality on us because neither of these things are true whatsoever. I don't care how much you've lost, nothing justifies enslaving people, torturing them and forcing them to do what you want so you can have a make-believe family. And the phrase "set things right" makes it sound like she stayed and helped rectify her mistakes with the town, or gave herself up to the proper authorities as a recognition of what she's done wrong. But nah, she just flies off just as they arrive, just like a real superhero. When Strange meets up with her to ask for her help protecting America Chavez, she states America's name without Strange having given her that information. breaking her deception and revealing that she is actually the one after Chavez. And Wanda's after her because America Chavez has the ability to jump between multiverses, and she wants to go to one where she can be with her children, the ones she made up, the ones who aren't real, the ones who don't actually exist. Yes, they surely exist somewhere, considering we're talking about an infinite number of universes. So if we're rolling with her rationale and ignoring its stupidity, why doesn't she go to a universe where Wanda's already died? One where her kids are orphaned or something? At least that seems more reasonable. Why go to one where you have to kill that universe's Scarlet Witch? Why is Wanda such a fucking idiot? This sets the stage for her insane, murderous rampage throughout the multiverse. She attacks Kamartaj and kills an unknown number of people, actually tortures survivors, and absolutely obliterates the Illuminati, who are the most powerful heroes that universe has ever known. All for the sake of having her made-up kids back. All because she has the big sad. None of this is reasonable, rational, or justified. This is absolute psychopathy. She's the most powerful character in the MCU and could do anything else to immobilize these characters because of how ludicrously strong she is. But nah, instead, she decides to go the route of blowing Black Bolt's head off, breaking Xavier's neck, and literally torturing Reed by turning him into spaghetti and then popping his head like a water balloon. She says she doesn't enjoy having to kill people, but considering she could have done a million other things other than killing them, shredding Reed to bits and blowing his head up seems like you might be going a little overboard, to say the least. So I don't know if I believe you. Thanos, the big bad of the universe, the ultimate bad guy, wouldn't kill someone if he didn't have to. Wanda's more powerful than he was, and is a hero we're supposed to have sympathy for because she lost people. And even though she has the ability to beat anyone without harming them, she gleefully explodes people's heads and tortures people. The ill-defined and vague effects of the Darkhold might have nudged her, but take a step back and remember why she was even using it in the first place. Selfishly, to find her make-believe kids. The book didn't make her do any of that. She decided to use the book for that purpose. The selfish, narcissistic, self-righteous, and moronic nature of that choice wasn't brought on by the book, it was already there. The book just amplified it. And you can't argue Strange used it later so it justifies her use of it. He uses it to save the multiverse while she's using it for her own benefit. During her killing spree, she's presented with the reality of the harm she's causing and spews some of the most idiotic bits of reasoning I've ever heard. When confronted with the fact that to be with her kids in another universe, she'd have to kill their Wanda, their mother, she doesn't even have a response. I said in my Strange review that this is the writers knowing they have objectively stupid motivations for their character, but instead of correcting it, they decide to just point it out in the story like that somehow makes it okay. But bad writing or not, that's what Wanda does. When Wong confronts Wanda and asks, why do you have to kill America Chavez and take her powers? Why don't you just have Chavez send you to the universe you want? She answers, and I kid you not, what if the kids get a disease that is only curable in another universe? I'll need her powers to go there.
Go fuck yourself.
Again, reminding myself that yes, this is bad writing, but it's also story canon. This is what the character thinks and says. So, again, Wanda's a fucking idiot. And when she's point blank told that her children were made up with her magic, she says, all children are made with magic. Do I have to point out how fucking stupid this is, or can the line just speak for itself for once? Yeah, I'll just set it here and leave it. And a reminder again, she's doing all of these awful things because she's grieving, because she has the sad. She knowingly and willfully tortured and controlled an entire town to be with her made-up children, and was willing to put the entire world at risk to continue doing so. Then she uses a book that's said to eventually corrupt its user in order to find her made-up kids instead of searching for her boyfriend who is actually alive. Then she goes on a fucking killing spree that she could have easily avoided to carry on this make-believe hunt. These are objective facts. I have a theory that a lot of MCU stans are secretly propping up this character because Elizabeth Olsen is utterly gorgeous. And I mean this. It's easy to defend someone that hot. Maybe not Amber Heard. I think the Scarlet Witch just has people big simping.
Big simping, babe.
Her character's written poorly, to be sure, but what we did get was a psychopathic, narcissistic menace with no justifiable reason to do anything she did. Grief is not a qualifier to torture and murder innocent people. But like I said at the beginning, we might differ on what is considered rational and reasonable, which is fine, but if so, stay away from me, you fucking psycho. GG's only.